Hey gamers, Gecko here. Bit of a weird one today. We're going to be getting really into the weeds with a lot of things to do with EVO. They announced a bunch of new tournaments that are coming out, and it's left me and a couple of other people in the FGC with a bit of a weird taste in our mouths. So to catch you all up to speed real quick, EVO just made a big announcement saying that by next year, they're going to have around 10 separate events all under the EVO name. They're going to be staying with EVO Vegas, Japan, and France, as well as apparently helping out local communities, but they will be adding an EVO Singapore, Morocco, Brazil, China, Middle East, starting with Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and finally a fighting game World Championship. This news comes directly after the full Qiddiya acquisition of EVO. If you don't know what Qiddiya is, it is a mega city product in Saudi Arabia that has heavy ties to sport washing. If you don't know what sport washing is, you have access to a search engine. You can figure it out. And this news has left people a little bit divided. So I wanted to throw my hat in the ring and say how I feel about this news. This is bad. This is probably going to be really, really bad. On the face of it, it sounds really good, and there are things that I think are pretty decent about it that I do want to acknowledge. EVO is the biggest name in fighting games, currently. And anytime EVO goes somewhere, it brings a lot of people into the more local communities from there. Going to your first EVO has you connecting with people that you probably didn't know existed by playing the same game as them. When it came over to Europe, it was a pretty big deal. I didn't manage to actually go to EVO France, but I know a lot of people that went and said that they had a good time. And for the longest time, EVO was the big capstone event. 3 EVOs per year does sound like a lot, but generally a lot of things happened at these events that had people tuning in for them. EVO Vegas has the legacy and the prestige. EVO Japan has Japanese competitors, which are generally seen as pretty good in fighting games. And EVO France is in France, which is really good for us European folk. So bringing EVO to other regions is pretty good. I know a lot of people in South America said that they wanted some bigger scene so that they could promote more of their local things. And obviously the Middle East being really far away from all of the EVOs generally is a pretty bad thing. And so while this all seems good on paper, the problem is there's a couple too many of them. In 2027, there are going to be 9 EVO country events. If we assume that they are all in different months, that leaves 3 months without a main EVO headline event at all. This sounds pretty good, but it has a bit of a weird situation. EVO is the biggest name in fighting games currently. So if you're a different tournament organizer that isn't working on EVO and you want to promote your regional, your major, you are now going to have to compete with people going to EVO. Granted, a lot of these places are pretty spread out. It's not like everyone's going to be going to every single EVO, but you are still going to have to be competing with the online knowledge of your event existing. And before anyone thinks that this isn't going to affect the timeline of events for bigger things, it already kind of has in a bit of a roundabout way. Versus Fighting, the biggest tournament in the UK, had to move its dates forward. It's normally in August, and now it's going to be in July. This isn't because of EVO, this is because of the Esports World Cup. And for a personal anecdote, this put me in a really shitty situation. Versus Fighting, the tournament that I go to every year, where I get to see all of my fighting game friends, and Final Fantasy XIV FanFest is happening on the same weekend. I have to choose. I don't want to. But the likelihood is next year, Versus Fighting is going to have to compete with some EVO in the same month. So what are they going to do? The likelihood is there's going to be a large condension of EVOs around the summertime, just because that's when people are going to want to go and do the most things. If you are a major tournament organizer, when would be the best time to go and fight against Evo? Are they going to have to move their events to when Evo is on the other side of the world? Or are they just going to have to fug it out and hope that they can market themselves in such a way where they're able to deal with this? They say that they're going to be helping out the scene and they still have their core values, but unfortunately with 9 mainline events at any given time, they're kind of smothering the major scenes. Anything that's not already a pre-established major is gonna be hard-pressed to find a good time to really grow itself. Sure, things like Combo Breaker, CEO, those will probably be fine. But the ones that are on the up and up, the ones that are making waves right now, are going to have a much harder time because they're competing with the space that Evo is now expanding itself into. It's going to be really weird going forward. With a lot of the stuff happening with Qadea, a lot of people in the Guilty Gear community especially have already kind of signed off on Evo. Granted, there'll still be people that go if the game is still there, but I know at least in the EU community, a lot of us have kind of just said we're fine going to other events. Europe specifically named UFA as the new Guilty Gear Evo, just from talking with people. So just know there are still going to be options out there if you don't want to go to Evo, but it is going to be very strange for tournament organizers to figure out how to do things. But then there's one final event, one extra thing that's on there that doesn't have a country listed and has its own little brief description. This is called the Fighting Game World Championship. And I personally think it's a terrible idea. I'm going to read exactly what they said about the Fighting Game World Championship that's powered by Evo, and hopefully you'll immediately begin to see the problem. Unlike existing World Championships, this new format will require competitors to showcase mastery of multiple fighting games, putting their adaptability, game knowledge, and fighting game fundamentals to the ultimate test. Only by demonstrating next-level skills across the entire fighting game genre can a player rise to claim the latest championship. Do you see the problem here? Fighting games are a very interesting genre, because generally, people only stick to a handful of games. There are players who will go out and branch out into different fighting games and try them out. But it's very rare that we see players that are successful in multiple fighting games. Like, it's extremely rare that we see people who are successful in multiple fighting games. The players that come to mind that have been successful in multiple games at the same time are Daigo, back before Street Fighter really popped off, Goichi, okay, for his entire career, and Sonic Fox. But Sonic Fox nowadays generally sticks to a handful of games. This bracket essentially sounds like it's going to be a mystery bracket with the current fighting games. And I kinda hate that, if I'm entirely honest. The best thing about watching high-level fighting game play is seeing people who have really mastered their craft. Players who are really good at either their character or their game and are able to express that in a beautiful way. Having players bounce between a bunch of different games is kind of a recipe for disaster. The likelihood is a player that you really like is only good at a handful of games, generally in the same franchise. There are people who are good at Arc System Works games, but generally don't end up playing things like Street Fighter or Tekken. Hell, there are people who play Tekken and then play nothing else, because it is so radically different to everything else that's out there. The main thing that makes me worry about this is that this feels like it's going to have people playing fighting games not because they love the game that they're playing, but because they want to make sure that they get a shit ton of money. Let's be real, with the Qadea backing, the likelihood is that Evo's prize pool is going to balloon quite a bit. We've already seen it with games that Qadea is helping with, like City of the Wolves, having massive prize pools for tournaments that don't have a lot of people in them, with an attempt to bring more people to their games because they see that they can make more money. And while it has worked for some people, Goichi, it's not a lucrative deal for everyone, and it's not really healthy for the scene. A lot of ink has been spilled about the failure of City of the Wolves, and I'm not really gonna continue on with that. And while there are people that I know that really like the game, a lot of people were just there because they wanted to try and get that paycheck. And it led to the game having a pretty toxic community from what I could tell. A lot of people were just playing the really good characters entirely because they just wanted to get the bag. I don't think this format is going to be healthy for any fighting game that's announced on it. There's going to be people who are playing and training in these games not because they like the game. They're going to be playing and training in it because money. Fighting games are at their best when the people playing them genuinely love the game that they're playing. The reason so many people like to go and play in retro games is not because new game bad, it's because community good. The people that are around there that are actually playing the game are the ones who want to keep playing the game. So generally, they're more inviting and accepting. The best experience I've ever had at a major was sitting down and being made to play Plus R with people who actually liked the game. They gave me tips, they showed me combos, they cheered me on when I did cool things in the background. People were there because they loved the game and they wanted to play them. And that's the core of the FGC. That's the core value that EVO was supposedly created upon. People gathering under any name to play fighting games should be what the community cares about the most. But this really feels like an attempt by EVO to make themselves the only one in the room. When, let's be real, they're not even the most enjoyable in the room. There are a bunch of tournaments out there in every single region that people can go to. Be it locals, regionals, majors, or even the bigger super majors. There are tournaments that everyone can attend, and I guarantee you the community and the vibes will be better than whatever EVO event you go to that has just sprung up in your country. I urge you, if you know of any of these events, please put them down below in the comments so people can go and find them. It's more important now than ever that we let people know where our events are so people can go and enjoy them. In the description, there will be a link to a site that has a bunch of Guilty Gear regionals in Europe. I think it's more important now, if we really do love fighting games, we love the spirit of this community, we really make sure that we get the community on the same page. Are you bad for wanting to go to EVO in your country? No, you're not. If it's an easy trip for you and you think you can afford it, I'm not going to shame you for wanting to go. Especially if you're in a region that's never had an EVO before. That's fucking sick for you. But I guarantee you that there will be regionals and majors around there that play your game. You just might not know about them yet. Thank you all for watching. It's a very strange announcement today. If you want to talk more about it, I'll be streaming right now. We'll be playing a bit of Deadlock, so I might be a little bit out of it on the chat. I hope you come by. I hope you say hi. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!